Sometimes I can't stop thinking about all the cameras. Step out of my door, security camera. Head down the street, police camera. Movies, camera. Shopping, camera. Groceries, subway, doorbell, camera. I've noticed this for years. And then I found a website that lets me search for all of them. And I got obsessed. And as I looked around, there was one type of surveillance camera that kept coming up again and again. ALPR, automated license plate readers. They're cameras that automatically record the license plate number, make, model, and features of every vehicle that comes into view. This is, at its core, not a new technology. Search on newspaper archives and you can see that we've been talking about automatic license plate readers since the 80s. What's new, I've started to learn, is how they're used in 2025.
This camera system is unbelievable.
Cameras just started popping up everywhere.
There's still the questions of who has access to these.
We are very sensitive to public concern around privacy.
This is definitely the ingredients or what we call a police state.
This is probably the biggest invasion of privacy that has ever hit America.
More and more, these systems aren't just cameras. They're storing data, compiling lists, and with enough ALPRs, law enforcement essentially has real-time surveillance of every vehicle in their area.
We're talking about mass surveillance.
Mass surveillance, in the sense that they collect data on everyone.
You can basically see where everyone is at any point in time.
These are some of the people I've talked with over the last few weeks as I tried to learn as much as I can about ALPRs, because I got a little obsessed. I even started looking them up every time I went somewhere new. Found it.
There's another one.
And pretty quickly, I noticed a few things.
I think that has to be one.
I see another one. First, the map was an underestimation.
I'm definitely noticing that there are a lot of these that are not labeled on this map.
And second, almost all of the unmapped ALPRs looked identical. A pole with a solar panel on top, a camera right below, and this logo. Flock Safety is a surveillance tech company that says its mission is simple: eliminate crime.
Do you envision a future with a flock camera on every street corner?
I envision that, and I envision an America where crime no longer exists.
And part of why so many of the flock cameras I found might not be labeled on open source maps yet is because of just how quickly the company has grown. In the 8 years since its founding, Flock's revenue has skyrocketed. It's now valued at over $7 billion. Flock says that its cameras are used by more than 5,000 of the 18,000 law enforcement agencies in the US, and more than 1,000 private customers, like homeowners associations, schools, and shopping malls. And while only 20,000 of its cameras have been reported, watchdogs estimate that the real number is over 90,000, taking billions of photos every month. I'm sure I've been photographed driving past one of Flock's cameras, and if you drive a car in the US, you probably have too. I set out to make a video about automated license plate readers in general, but pretty quickly it became a video about just one company. I want to tell you about that company, why its cameras spread to almost every corner of the United States, and how it's quietly reshaped our relationship with being watched. By the way, before I dive in, if you want to learn more about how ALPRs work and the technology behind them, Ben Jordan has an amazing video about this that goes super in depth. In this video, I want to talk about why Flock in particular has been so successful at this, and what the real world implications are of their particular model. Okay, I know it's somewhere around here. This is a confusing area because there are so many cameras like all over the place, it's hard to tell which one is an ALPR. Actually, I think that might be it. Even though we still call these things license plate readers, they can do a lot more than just read license plates. On Flock, you don't even need a license plate to track down a vehicle. With their AI-powered search tools, you could just look up silver Mercedes station wagon with bumper stickers and find all the matches. But the real change in what ALPRs are capable of isn't about the details that these cameras can record. It's about the quantity of cameras recording.
Yeah, years ago, you'd see license plate readers in some cities on some roads, but there weren't enough of them to put together a big picture of where you actually live, where you work, where you go every day.
Okay, If you can see these sticky notes, every single one of these is a reminder for a big international trip that I have coming up. Visa and outfits and hotels and tours and activities. But you know the one thing that's not on there? The phone plan. Even though I've got a lot of stuff to still figure out, because of this app, I don't have to worry about how I'm going to text or call while I'm abroad. Saley is an eSIM service from the team behind NordVPN, and it takes all of the hassle out of staying connected while you're traveling. They have a special deal for you guys right now at saley.com/tunnelvision. Saley allows you to download an eSIM straight to your phone. You just open the app, pick a country, and you're online. There's no waiting in long lines at the airport. There's no dealing with tiny physical SIM cards, and there are a lot of countries to pick from. Saley currently supports over 200 across the globe, so whether you're going somewhere close or halfway across the world, Saley's going to have you covered. You can even keep multiple carriers and numbers at the same time, so switching networks is as easy as a tap. Right now, you can get 15% off your plan at saley.com/tunnelvision with the code tunnelvision at checkout. Travel is supposed to be exciting, not stressful. If you add Saley to your checklist, it is one less thing to worry about and one more reason to enjoy your trip. Okay, let's get back to the story. One ALPR might not be a huge deal, but with enough ALPRs, law enforcement can figure out where you are at any point in time, where you might be headed based on your travel patterns, and who you might know based on who goes to the same places you go.
You can actually create a traceable path of the car moving through the city as long as it's being picked up by the flock cameras.
Correct. And it would be difficult to drive anywhere of any distance without running into a camera somewhere.
So how did Flock get enough ALPRs on streets to have a full picture of where everyone is? Part of the answer is that it doesn't sell ALPRs. It sells a subscription to ALPRs.
It's presented as something that's really affordable, because like if you wanted to buy ALPRs and deploy like 100 of them before Flock, it would cost a lot, and most cities wouldn't be able to do it because they don't have the money. But if you lease them, then you can add as many as you want and you can still afford it. And it's cheaper than hiring police officers and things like that.
But the other part of the answer is that Flock made it incredibly easy to share ALPR data. Law enforcement agencies can share their ALPR data one-on-one with other agencies that use Flock. And any private company that subscribes to Flock can choose to share their data with law enforcement too. For a law enforcement agency, being able to share ALPR data is a valuable feature. If that agency is tracking a vehicle that drives out of the range of its ALPRs, getting access to another agency's ALPRs can help identify where that vehicle is. It allows them to cast a wider net. Giving customers the ability to share ALPR data isn't new. Vigilant Solutions, an American ALPR manufacturer acquired by Motorola in 2019, did something similar a decade ago.
So this used to be the unique thing for Vigilant Solutions. Vigilant Solutions had a thing called the Learn Network. The actual phrase on Vigilant Solutions' website was something like, adding another agency to your share list is as easy as adding a friend on social media. And sure enough, you'd have like a police department in California that's adding like 1,000 or 2,000 agencies sharing its data with them. And it'd be like, you'd have like a police department in like Pennsylvania or something sharing data with police officers in Honolulu.
But Flock created a new way for law enforcement to share ALPR data, not just to one customer at a time, but to an entire network of other law enforcement Flock customers. That created a powerful network effect. It's the same principle behind how any major social media company succeeds. The more people who join Instagram, for example, the more content you see and the more friends you can connect with. Each new member directly increases the value for everyone else. As more customers joined the Flock network, the more valuable it became for other law enforcement agencies to buy in too. Law enforcement customers could choose to join a statewide network or a national network. Every law enforcement authority that contributed its ALPR data could access the ALPR data of every other authority in the network, including private contributors.
Flock Safety, part of the way it challenged Vigilant Solutions was it started going to homeowners associations. It started going to companies to get in that way. And then it would go to a police department and say like, hey, you don't have to buy our cameras, but the homeowners associations have installed them, so you can use their data. Or the companies have installed them, and you can use their data. And so that certainly is a way that Flock has wheedled its way into communities, is going through businesses and homeowners associations and other, private entities.
As I kept reading, I kept seeing headline after headline about the controversies surrounding these cameras. Cities and towns across the US are having to figure out how to deal with them in real time. And I wanted to understand what critics were most worried about. For one thing, there are problems when ALPRs don't work the way they're supposed to. Testing on flock cameras has found flaws in the accuracy of their license plate readings. Police errors in interpreting ALPR data has led to several cases of innocent people being pulled over at gunpoint.
Police later admitted they had mistakenly identified the car, saying the plate numbers were similar to the one reported stolen.
And research on their effectiveness shows that while they do lead to more stolen vehicles being recovered, they have little to no effect on crime rates more broadly. But for critics, the more alarming question is what happens when ALPRs do work the way they're supposed to?
Of course it works. That's not the point. If we put a tracker on every human being in Denver, we would solve every crime and we would get a whole lot of other bad unintended consequences of that.
We could have basically zero crime if tomorrow we required every person to wear a body camera and fed the footage into a police database. But the Fourth Amendment doesn't allow that.
Obviously, this is a good law enforcement tool, but at what societal cost?
The societal cost, of course, is privacy. ALPRs have already been used to monitor attendance at gun shows and places of worship and political rallies. With enough data points like these, ALPRs give law enforcement the kind of information that was previously only available by putting a GPS tracker on your car or analyzing data from your phone, both of which require getting a warrant under the Fourth Amendment. That's the one that protects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Flock argues that its system doesn't infringe on the Fourth Amendment because license plates are not personal information. They're issued by the government for the express purpose of identifying vehicles. But even if license plates are public, the record of everywhere that they've been can be very private. Flock also argues that ALPRs do not track people. They simply take pictures. But even if ALPRs on their own do not track people, people with access to a large network of ALPRs can. And the question of who has access to Flock's large network of ALPR cameras is at the core of this entire controversy. The outlet 404 Media obtained records of searches that had been made on Flock's nationwide network. Every search on that network requires police to list the reason for their query. In these search records, officers had entered keywords like immigration. In the US, different states have different laws. Usually that's not an issue. Police in the state where a crime takes place have jurisdiction over the case, and police in the other state aren't involved. But if police in this state are actively sharing their ALPR data to a network that police in this state can access, suddenly they are involved with that agency's work.
So if we look at like abortion access, places like Texas, it's illegal to help somebody get an abortion. In California, it is illegal to impede somebody's access to an abortion. These are diametrically opposite ideas of what a crime is. And so how do agencies even interact anymore? How do they share data when they're working at cross purposes?
To avoid those issues, in some states it's illegal for local police to share license plate info with out-of-state or federal authorities. Often these laws are specifically to limit that information being accessed for immigration enforcement, in order to promote trust between immigrant communities and local authorities. But we have evidence that even in states with those laws, police have been sharing their data anyway. You can see in these maps from the watchdog site Eyes on Flock that most California police departments follow that law. But some police departments, like El Cajon, share their data all over the country.
Here in California, we have this real struggle with cities are handing out this data whether they're supposed to or not. It is not as controlled and responsibly used as I think the average person would assume that it is.
The 404 Media investigation didn't just reveal that police were labeling their searches immigration. They were also specifically inputting ICE, which stands for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and ERO for ICE's Enforcement and Removal Operations Division. All of this suggested that local police were running searches on Flock's database on behalf of federal agencies. Local law enforcement in Colorado were even caught giving their Flock passwords to federal authorities. Those federal authorities have then run ALPR searches related to immigration enforcement. In town halls across the country, residents have expressed concern that federal agencies might be able to access the Flock cameras in their communities.
Flock is not the company that we trust not to share our data. This is not, right? They're going to sell it to the highest bidder. The intended purposes are all noble goals, but these cameras and this technology does so much more than that.
The only way to protect our residents, especially immigrants and people seeking reproductive care, is to not collect the data in the first place.
Some cities have put their contracts with Flock Safety on pause or ended them entirely. Flock now claims it will block any searches of a state's ALPRs if those searches violate that state's law.
When there is state legislation, we help our customers not break it.
And following 404 Media's reporting, Flock removed Illinois, California, and Virginia from its national lookup tool. But it raised the question of whether federal authorities might have direct access to Flock cameras. Flock, at first, said they don't.
So you're in 6,000 municipalities.
Yeah.
Do you have any federal contracts?
We don't.
No, so no contracts with ICE?
No contracts with ICE.
1 month after that interview, Flock admitted that they actually did have a pilot program with U.S. Customs and Border Protection.
Well, now that company admits immigration agents do have direct access.
Flock has insisted for months that federal agents do not have direct access to local police departments' tracking data. We now know that's not true.
A previously undisclosed program gave U.S. Customs and Border Protection access to a Flock account, which allowed federal agents to send invitations to police departments for one-to-one data sharing. In August 2025, Flock announced that it had paused all operations with federal agencies because of concerns from communities across the country over how that data is used. But the pause is only temporary. The company says it still has plans to work with federal agencies in the future.
I'm not sure that we have really fully grasped what that power is. That's an incredible power that really only if you believe in like God or something, that's that kind of godlike power. To be able to fully analyze and be aware of an entire population's movement and motions and what that means about them, right?
I've been particularly obsessed with this question of how many cameras there are around us. I find it fascinating. At the same time, to be completely honest, I find it increasingly difficult to care about surveillance. It's overwhelming. It's easy to tune out. There are too many kinds of surveillance technologies and too few things that we can realistically do about any of them. But in the United States, I think there's a case to be made that one company has single-handedly brought us into a new era of surveillance. The sheer number of cameras that Flock Safety operates and the ease of sharing data between those cameras are testing the limits of our right to privacy. At Flock, ALPRs are only the beginning. In 2025, the company debuted its newest product.
It's easy to see that drones are the future of law enforcement. They are safer, they are faster, they work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It's nothing new for a tech company to disrupt an industry by moving into gray areas of the law. But when the industry that they're disrupting is the way that we enforce the law itself, that changes the equation. Even if you agree with Flock's mission, even if you don't care about the cameras or who has access to them, the bottom line is that a company whose stated mission is to eliminate crime might be going outside the law to do so. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, this is Tunnel Vision. It is a show where we go down rabbit holes and tell stories about how we find answers on the internet. I wanted to give a special shout out to Will Freeman's website, dflock.me. It is the easiest way to see the location of ALPRs near you or around the world. It also has some really easy to follow instructions about how to submit ALPR locations to the map. I've been doing it for all the ones that I've found in real life that were not labeled on maps yet. It's a cool website, and it is the exact kind of open source intelligence tool that I like to explore in my videos. And if you have an idea for a video, I am always happy to hear them. You can send me an email with your idea at christophe@newpress.com. Okay, see you next time.